To-wit, to-woo! A dear old brown owl sat on a branch in the soft moonlight, crooning her strange cry. She had great, big, deep eyes that could see even through the dark. And though many people were afraid of her, she was really quite harmless and full of fun. She could see a joke, and her to-wit, to-woo often ended in a gurgle of laughter. In a little house nearby, there lived a man and his wife and their 2 children, Tommy and Betty. Though the mother loved both of her children, she often had to find fault with them because they were lazy, forgetful, and untidy. They used to rush about the place, yelling and playing their games, upsetting the furniture, breaking the crockery, spoiling their clothes, and causing a great deal of trouble. They never thought what a bother they were to other people, so long as they had a good time. Then one day, Mother told them how different it had been in years gone by when the Brownies used to visit the house. "What is a brownie?" they asked. "Ah, a brownie," answered the mother, "was a little fairy, either a boy or a girl, who came to the house early every morning before anyone was awake. He swept the floor, lit the fire, drew the water, and made ready the breakfast. He also tidied the rooms, weeded the garden, cleaned the boots and shoes, and put the children's clothes in neat bundles." The brownie did every kind of work, but nobody ever saw him as he slipped away before the people of the house awoke. Everybody was happy, and the home was always bright and clean. Tommy and Betty wanted to know how they could get a brownie to come and help in their house so as to save them from doing many odd jobs. Mother told them to seek and ask the wise old owl, as she knew everything about fairies and could tell them where to look for a brownie. After dark, the 2 children went into the wood to find the brown owl. Tommy led the way very bravely at first, but as the path in the silent woods became darker and darker, he began to feel sorry that he had started on the adventure. Presently, they heard the hooting of the owl among the trees. It sounded so queer that for a moment they wanted to turn and run back home. Gathering all her courage, Betty went forward to the tree in which the owl was sitting. "Mrs. Owl, Mrs. Owl, we have come to see you," she cried. "I am delighted to hear it," replied the wise old bird. "What can I do for you?" Betty and Tommy told her their troubles, how they were always bothered by having work to do when they wished to play, and how they had heard of the Brownies and wanted to get one to do all the odd jobs for them. "To-woo, chuckled the owl. "Do you see that pool down there, Betty? Go to it when the moon is bright. Turn around 3 times and then say, 'Twist me and turn me and show me the elf. I looked into the water and there saw.' To get the missing word, look down into the water and there you will see the brownie." Next evening, when the moon was up, Betty went to the pool, turned herself around 3 times and cried, "Twist me and turn me and show me the elf. I looked into the water and there saw." When she looked in the pool, she saw nothing except her own reflection. She went back to the owl and told her that she had seen no one there. She had hoped to find the brownie who would come to the house and do all the work. "Did you see anyone whose name could fit the words that I gave you?" said the owl. "No one," answered Betty. "Whom did you see in the water?" asked Mrs. Owl. "No one but myself," replied Betty. "To-wit, to-woo," cried the owl. "Would not the word myself fit?" Betty repeated the lines again. "Twist me and turn me and show me the elf. I looked in the water and there saw." "Myself? But I'm not a brownie," she exclaimed. Mrs. Owl replied, "No, but you can be one if you try. You are a strong and smart little girl. You could sweep the floor. You're clever enough to lay a fire and light it. You could fill the kettle and put it on to boil. You could tidy up the room and set out the breakfast things. You could make your bed and clean your shoes and fold up your clothes. You could do all these things before anyone else was up, so that when your father and mother came down, they would be surprised and delighted. The next morning, Betty and Tommy slipped out of their beds before anyone was up. They cleaned the house, lit the fire, prepared the breakfast, and crept quietly back to their rooms. When their father and mother came down, expecting to have to do all the work as usual, they were astonished to find that everything had already been done for them. Day after day this went on, and the children had more fun and enjoyment out of doing their duty like brownies than they had ever got out of playing rowdy games or being idle. Their home was always bright and clean, and everybody was happy.